everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga show brought to you by Over the Bar. Tuning in tonight for a match week 2 review of the Bundesliga. Joined tonight by Mark and Peter. Chaps, have we had a nice, pleasant weekend? Mark, what have you been up to?
I was at the stadium for the Nuremberg game, and the bad luck charm once again struck, and they lost 4-0 at home to Magdeburg. So, yeah, that was disappointing, but, nice weekend all in all. Nice weather over here in Germany. What about you, Peter, over there?
Well, as you know, I'm always on the move, so it's a pleasure to be with you again, gentlemen, from yet another novel location. I'm here a stone's throw from the beach here on the Jersey Shore, soaking in the American Labor Day. I, of course, celebrate the German Labor Day as well on the 1st of May, so I get 2 Labor Days, I do.
Excellent stuff. Well, I've just been up and down the M1, seeing friends and family down south, so very pleasant weekend. Apart from the football, lads, I'm done with it already. Being a Man U and a VfB fan, 3 games and 2 games in, I'm finished. But yeah, lots of good football matches for us to cover tonight. That's for sure, and we can go through it's all in great detail. Obviously, before we do, just a few little bits and bobs of admin, as per usual. So from an audio perspective, if you like to take in your Bundesliga content that way, we are on all good audio platforms. So make sure you give us a search, give us a rating and a review as well. Leave a like if you can do on the video. That'd be very much appreciated. Comment along. Let's get some comments in tonight about how your team's got on this weekend. Subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any future content. And then a good shout out to our great partners that we're working with this season. First of all, Bundesliga boxes. There's one thing to highlight with the giveaway that we've been running. The tweet does say that the competition ends at the end of August, which we are now at. So a winner should be announced for that either later tonight or at the very latest tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's been fantastic to run so far. The early access link, the secret link, is no more because batch 43 is now live on general sale. So that's just a little bit of info from Rich and the guys at Bundesliga Boxes, the fantastic shirts and football shirts that you get from them in the mystery boxes. And of course, a great shout out to bullynews.com, who we do all sorts of bits and bobs with, and have had a fantastic start to the season from a fantasy football perspective. Really enjoying that at the moment as well. Right then, chaps. So standard featured for tonight. We revealed who the featured for would be on our socials. Fairly clear, at least for myself, what those 4 games would be. So I think we're just going to tackle them in chronological order again, to be honest, and just kind of go ahead that way. So two games that are going to feature are going to be from the Saturday afternoon games. So if we kickstart with Frankfurt getting a well-deserved 3-1 home win over Hoffenheim, obviously a game that saw the talents of the Frankfurt striking players really shine. Players like Ekitike and Marmoush really standing out in the match in what was a really exciting match to watch for the home fans. Hoffenheim, they puffed, but never really got going. Had a few spells of okay football, but never really got into it. So yeah, Frankfurt managing to go ahead early. Early enough, about midway through the first half. Ekitike finishing really comfortably and calmly after being played in really nicely by Marmoush. Delightful pass into his path and just showing, I think, how cool and composed he's now going to be now that he's got those first goals from last season. He's just on a lovely run now for Ekitike, and he took that finish absolutely delightfully. Then when obviously I've been watching the highlights of these games because I was down south and I didn't really get to watch anything live. And this was a Saturday afternoon game anyhow. when I saw the highlights of the Marmouche effort, I'm not sure about you two, but that completely tricked me because I thought that was a goal. And then when another 2 goals go in, I was like, well, I thought it was only 3-1. So yeah, that was a great effort from Marmouche, but side netting it was. He was industrious all game long, really live wire. They'll be absolutely thrilled that Marmouche, decided himself to stay at the club for this season. The second goal for Frankfurt came on the 33rd minute. Good timing, good football. Marmouche and Ekitike combining, and that pass from Ekitike I thought was absolutely sublime. The vision, the time for Hugo Larsson, obviously a young prospect in the Frankfurt side to run into, and also finish really, really well past Baumann for 2-0. And then, second half mark, Hoffenheim got themselves back into the game, but only for about 90 seconds because Frankfurt very quickly then restored their 2-goal lead. But do you want to just talk us through, those second half goals and, what you thought about the game, and then we can kind of go on to some more talking points about both sides.
Yeah, well, the Hoffenheim one just kind of came a little bit out of nowhere, really, after Frankfurt completely dominated the first half. I thought that was a stellar first half performance by the Eintracht in this game. It was a good goal, though, from them. It was Flojek, obviously the summer signing, putting a really nice ball in ahead of the defence for the form man of the season, really, so far, Andrej Kramaric, who tucked away his 4th goal in just 2 games. Little bit of suspect defending, perhaps, from Frankfurt. I think it was Koch who didn't really deal with the ball in so well, but it wasn't a major error. In truth, it was a good ball in from the Czech wide man. And then, just a few minutes later, really, Eintracht deservedly re-established a 2-goal lead, and it was great ball out to the side and nice shot in, and before Marmouche was able to just tuck it away on the rebound. For me, a very, very deserved Eintracht win. I thought they were absolutely brilliant in the game, really. A lot of people came into this game with doubts, including you, Peter. I've got to pull you up on this one. You went for a 2-0 Hoffenheim win. I did go for the 3-1 Frankfurt. But I've got to say, I did feel as though Frankfurt have got a lot to give this season, and I didn't think we really saw very much from them in the first game against Dortmund in what turned out to be a letdown fixture. But this was their kind of awakening in the season, really. And as you mentioned, there were so many standout players in this performance. I thought Ekitike was superb. He was my player of the weekend, to be honest. I thought he was just brilliant in this game. An excellent opening goal. As you mentioned, Rory, the assist for Larsson was superb. Marmouche wasn't far behind him as well, because he was really, really good as well. Like, him and Marmouche looked like a good partnership. Personally, I would like to see Canozun start alongside them in place of Goetze, potentially. But I think it will take a bit of time to, get the young man into the first team on a regular basis. Obviously, the ex-Nuremberg man, a very, very exciting player to watch, and he's going to be another, kind of ring to that arsenal that Frankfurt have got this season. I felt as though Larsson, was excellent in the game. He's starting to show the kind of form that he did in the early part of last season before fading in the second half. Shaqiri is an excellent player. Christensen. I thought they all had really, really good games. And I just feel as though, even if you look on the bench, you've got the likes of the already mentioned Canozun. It was just an excellent performance for me. I feel as though the front three work fantastically well. I do like the way Shaqiri breaks up play in the defensive midfield position. He's always been a player that is just an excellent player in Shaqiri. But I feel as though the difference this season, you've got some real quality up front, which for me, they didn't really have the whole of last season, but with exception of Marmouche to a lesser extent. But I feel as though he's going to do better this season with the help from Ekitike. And I think Rory, especially you more than anyone, has been bigging him up big time. And I think he's going to have a massive season. And, it's already shaping up to be another great season for attackers, isn't it? With Kramaric, Openda, which we'll talk about later. Harry Kane started the season strongly. But, Ekitike is going to be a player who could be up there for me with the top scorer race this year. I think he's that good. And the way he finished last season was superb. And he's already started the season brilliantly well. Peter, do you share our kind of optimism on Ekitike, or do you think we're kind of overrated him a little bit.
No, absolutely. I concur with you 100%. And I thank you for pointing out that I got this one wrong. I think after a season of watching Dino Topmüller employ what were some fairly blocky and choppy tactics, a lot of us just weren't sure that he was the right man to put this assemblage of talent together. And it's been a long, long time since we've taken a look at Frankfurt and said, this is really exciting stuff, what we see from them. It's been since the Glasner days. You know what I did? The only thing that disappointed me about Frankfurt was the coverage in the FAZ and the Rundschau this morning when I looked up. I'm sorry, there's some dogs in the back. But in any event, yeah, well, Frankfurt are top dogs now. They, the Rundschau and the FAZ, the two Frankfurt newspapers. Do you guys remember? I have a blast for the past where you have two blasts from the past where. Do you remember the Buffelherde, the buffalo herd? Do you remember which three strikers those were? That was, that was Ante Rebic, Luka Jovic, and Sebastian Haller when they all played for Frankfurt. And then there was a name for the other one, which turned out to fizzle a little bit. It was called the Crocodile, the crocodile. That was Bastos, Giancarlo Paciencia, and Andre Silva, with Daichi Kamada sort of being an honorary member. So I was disappointed when I read the newspapers that they didn't come up with a nickname for these guys yet. I guess because Goetze is just the placeholder at this point for your man, the former Nuremberg player, Zun. And once that happens, we can probably get a creative nickname. Maybe we just need to form one if the German press is not going to do its job. We can do it for them. An excellent performance all around. Niels Nkunku, who we know he has the talent. There was some whispers that he might be a little bit Philip Kostic-like in his ability to cross. It was a brave move, I think, for Topmüller to put Nkunku up there as the wing back and revert to a back three, and he slid Teata back in there. Teata was fantastic as well. Just an exciting team to watch. Great on the counter. Man, they made Hoffenheim pay on the counter every last time. So we could be in for something very exciting from Frankfurt this season. This, of course, these were the two Europa League representatives, and we do need to discuss Hoffenheim a little bit. Of course, we were talking last week about how all of these ridiculous transfer splurges are probably evidence that Dietmar Hopp still has his sticky fingers within the club. That is still happening if you look at what happened with Hoffenheim at the end of the transfer window. A real serious problem with Hoffenheim in this fixture was that the tactics were god-awful. I think, Mark, you and I are going to be mentioning Anton Stach in central defense as much as we were mentioning Anton at right back under Bruno Labbadia. That's going to be our version of that this season. And, of course, Florian Grillitsch was unavailable on short notice, so Dennis Geiger had to fill in as what I assume was the six, but I didn't see him play at six. I didn't see anybody play at six. There really wasn't a six on the pitch, and that's why Eintracht were able to strike so forcefully and so fiercely on the counter. But taking nothing away from the Rhein-Main-Adler, it was a glorious day there at Deutsche Bank Park, and we know how great the Eintracht fans are. And they showed us something exciting. Can't wait to watch them for the rest of the season, and let's see if we can't come up with a nickname for the striking corps once we get Uzun up there. I give that as an assignment to you guys. We'll see what we can figure out in the coming day.
We'll do our best. Loads of positives for Frankfurt. I think, Mark, like you said, the one thing that struck me was their bench and their subs. You mentioned your boy, your former boy Uzun. Bringing on Shaibi, bringing on Knauf, who has his talents, Manantovic. There is some real quality in there. And you mentioned the assist that Goetze got. That I have to say that is such a good pass because he's running onto it at pace as well. And the way he just controls it beautifully, I can't. Goetze as a football technician is still excellent. I really have to say that. So loads of positives. And I think for Hoffenheim, it just feels same old, doesn't it? As soon as they're opened up by a team who can score goals, it's going to happen. How quickly can Pellegrino Matarazzo string together a back three, back four, back five, whatever it is? He has to put something in place that's going to work for the rest of the season, or else they will concede. bags and bags of goals. As well, scored, conceded 3. That's certainly enough. Right then, so we will move on to the other Saturday afternoon game, if I can get it out the way as early as possible, which was Stuttgart 3, Mainz 05. 3, a very, topsy-turvy match. The emotions for this one on Saturday afternoon for me, whilst I was walking around in a lovely park down south, were very up and down. I think the dogs were howling as much as I was by the end of it because of the final conceding goal. But Peter, I'll come to you first on this one. VfB rushed out and played an excellent first half of the first half, and even an entire first half, give or take. Should have been, far and away gone in the first half. Some, really nicely put together moves and goals. The finish for the first goal is nothing to write home about, but again, the assists for the assist, the pass from Undav into Furyk was high quality, and even the pass before that to get to Undav in the first place, I thought was really nice football. And Mio just being in the right place at the right time, that's good. It's good instincts from him. And then, the second goal, maybe a bit more basic, but I'm sure Nubel wouldn't be, against having an assist on his name from the long ball. And Labeling doing really well to be composed to smash it home. We could have used a bit more of that composure later on in the match. And then first thoughts on, we might have had a few contentious decisions this weekend, which I'm sure we'll touch on. Thoughts on the penalty given, because, maybe I'm blindsided by bias. It just doesn't feel like it. Like Mio is watching the ball go over him, and yes, maybe it's clumsy. But Peter, I'll give you first offerings on this. I suppose, slowing down. It looks really clumsy. Maybe it's a penalty, but for me, real-time football, that happens so much all the time. If he's not, maybe it's correct me. Go on, put me right here, because I don't feel it was just.
I couldn't. I tried. I watched it many times. I guess it was kind of the German footballing version of Muhammad Ali Liston 2. I mean, it was difficult to see. Apparently, I'm told that there was a clip on the legs, but I didn't see a clip on the legs. I really didn't. I mean, I saw just a nudge in the back, and it was an incredibly soft penalty. That much I will agree upon. If I can attempt to cheer you up a little bit about this match, Rory, I think that the XG is incredibly important. It was 5-2 in favor of Stuttgart. We had a couple of young players, Henri Chase pairing with Jeff Chabot there in central defense, and I think he did a reasonably okay job. Rida, of course, came off the bench to score that free kick goal, even though Zentner might have done better. You could see that Stuttgart have, I think, the basic pieces can come into place. The midfield axis of Karazor and Stiller looks very good. If I were to hazard a guess at where Dennis Undav is fitness-wise right now, I would say about 75 to 80%. Let's not forget, it was only confirmed rather late in training camp that he would be playing for Stuttgart this season. I think it was the correct decision to start him as striker and put Mio as a service striker. Basically, what you had from Mainz, and I was curious about this because the term was making the round in German footballing circles this weekend. Hero ball, which it translates to lot of long vertical passes, and in some cases it worked out for Mainz. So my personal opinion on the match was that Stuttgart were by far the superior side. Mainz were given a soft penalty, and then of course we had a nice storyline at the end with Maxim Leitch netting that late equalizer. But it's entirely clear to me who the better team was, and we'll see if Mark agrees with me in that sense.
Yeah, 200%, basically. Yeah, I think Stuttgart were absolutely superb for long periods in the game. But yeah, it's kind of what we've talked about. I think myself and you, Rory, and also with Peter, we've discussed the issues with personnel-wise at the back for Stuttgart. I still don't see a partnership there. I think the young man Chase did well. I mean, he's come from nowhere, really, hasn't he? I mean, I didn't even know him before the Pokal game at the start of this season. So, in fact, no, I think he actually got a sub appearance in the Super Cup as well, I believe. But you need partnerships. I'm a big believer that in the midfield and in the defense, it's about partnerships for me. And I don't see a partnership there. And I've mentioned before that Chabot is a player that needs a partner as well. Like we saw it with Hubers last season, and I really enjoyed their partnership. But the year before, it wasn't maybe as good. Basically, so he needs a kind of partner to develop with. And to be honest, I think Stuttgart could have done worse than to sign Hubers, actually, as crazy as it sounds. Like, I think because for me, they are missing the very short in that position. I mean, without Zagadou, I mean, he's injury prone. Let's be honest. He's always been injury prone. So even if he comes back, it's probably not going to be long until he gets another month out or whatever, let's be honest. I just feel as though they messed up big time, really. I know they got the young man from Burnley on, but when he's going to be ready, I mean, we didn't see anything. I think it was probably too late for this game, but often Hernes does like to kind of slowly bring in his new signings. He doesn't like to play them right from the start. But I think at the minute, Chabot is not really doing that well compared to what I expected, to be honest, because I feel as though he's missing a partner, and he's a little bit rash at times as well. Like sometimes you watch him and he flies out of defense and just like hacks down a player and stuff. And he's been a letdown for me so far. I mean, it's still very early days, but he badly needs a partner there. And whether it could be the young man from Burnley, we'll have to see, or whether it's Zagadou further down the line, or whether he even goes with Chase again and tries to make something out of that. But I mean, it's a big worry at the minute, the defense, because you can't be dominating a game like that so much and not winning it. That's the problem. And you're right. Both of you are right. The penalty was ridiculously soft. It was extremely soft. But even then, you should still be able to win that game from 2-1 up at half time. And is it a massive concern? No, probably not. Because as you say, they played well. The team looked like the same team from last season to me, to be honest, for most of the game. There was nothing wrong with the performance. But the only difference is last year they would have been winning that game 4-1, 5-1 even. But this year they're drawing it 3-3. And until they can sort that out, it is going to be a problem for them to get wins on the board, because I feel as though it's a strong league this year. If you look at the next two games, they've got Gladbach away, which won't be easy. Gladbach have also looked good. And then I think they've got, is it Leipzig after that or someone? So it's going to be not easy. You don't want to go 3-4 games without a win in the Bundesliga. Rory, how do you feel about it at the minute?
So, I just wanted to pick up on your point about Chabot. So I think it's very clear to say that the Super Cup was his best performance out of the games that he's played so far. One thing I don't see happening for the majority of the season is Chabot having a permanent partner. Like Stuttgart are playing in the Pokal, they're playing in the league, and they're playing in the Champions League, which is an additional set of games to what they've been experiencing. And what you say about being light in defence is they currently are light in defence. But if you look at it, Zagadou comes back in. If he gets back to those levels, great option. They've got the new man from Burnley. Jury will obviously be out on Amil Al-Dakil, as to how he settles in, but, promising the things that I've heard. You've also throwing into the mix two other players that will play centre-half. Leonidas Sterigu can fill in at right back, but he can also play centre-back. And then you've got the man who started the season in centre-half, who now has picked up an injury in Anthony Rouault. So there's 4 centre-halves there who are on their injury list. So I'm not massively concerned, but what I would be wanting to know is what settles into, what does Stuttgart fans and obviously ultimately Sebastian Hoeneß consider the strongest centre-back partnership. Chabot might not even be part of it by Christmas, to be frankly honest. We'll see. His levels will have to stay high. I agree there was lots of rash defending in this match. So, case in point is the equaliser at the end. I think it's Chase and I want to say Wagnerman go out to press the ball before the cross comes in. The first header's then won, and then Chabot is the nearest person. There's 3 Mainz players lining up to get that goal. It reminds me of bloody Man United because there's always an back post for us. And so Chase should have been there because he's gone out to press. Wagnerman could have been there. So yeah, a few learnings. Hopefully they learn quickly. International break maybe at a good time as well. But yeah, I agree. Gladbach away sounds hard at the moment, the way that they're playing. And I don't want to make this, again, the Stuttgart show. It's just my, 5 pence worth. I thought Mainz really, really plucky and scored some good goals on the break. And like Peter said, they did, put on those vertical passes, but they also, when they had their chances after winning the ball, they put together that second goal really nicely as well. So credit to them. I think for Mainz, the MO, the mission statement has to be miles away from relegation. From my perspective, before they held on as well as they could do. Right. Any more thoughts and theories on this one before we move on to our next game?
I'll point out that, of course, we were talking about this last week, how Stille had a rather disappointing outing in central defense in the opening Bundesliga match day. On a good day, he can still fill in quite well in central defense. So can Kahatsor. So can any number of those players that you listed who were injured. I mean, as it so happens, Al-Dakhil is already injured. We're still waiting on Zagadou to come back so that he can get injured again, I'm sure. And even Yannick Keidel, who we saw play in central defense for Freiburg last season, albeit doing something of a mediocre job, could fill in there. But I mean, you're right. Chabot needs a partner, and the Rouault-Chabot partnership was lukewarm. I think it wasn't a particularly. We can't blame the Rouault injury on that. It just what we saw in preseason was simply not good enough.
Yep, absolutely. Good stuff. Right. If we're going to carry on our featured 4, and we'll do it in a chronological sense, we will get to our top spiel on Saturday, which was between Bayer Leverkusen and RB Leipzig. And of course, we now have a beaten Leverkusen side after the best part of, 450 odd days. I must admit, I can't remember what the exact number of days was from a domestic sense. After Leverkusen went into a 2-goal lead on Saturday evening in front of their fans, expecting, just business as usual against a Leipzig side that hadn't turned up yet in this fixture. Certainly a goal apiece for the fullbacks. Normal service again. A great finish from Jeremy Frimpong, showing great composure to put his chance away, and some great play in the end by one of the new men for Leverkusen in Terrier, pulling the ball back from the byline into Wirtz, into Grimaldo, 2-0. You're thinking, oof, could be a long evening for RB Leipzig, but they eventually built into it. Whether that was from Leverkusen going to sleep perhaps a little bit, and then obviously the goal comes just before the half, deep into stoppage time, because it was in the 7th minute of added on time in the first half, something like that. Of course, we had that much added on time because of the injury, the head injury, which Boniface got yellow carded for. Was it Haidara that got hit in the head?
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I'm so thankful that Boniface's boot only catches the top of his head, because if Boniface connected full ball with the head of Haidara, then Christ almighty, it was nasty enough as it was. So yeah, really happy that Haidara, got the right checks, and they did bring him off despite his clear anger, wasn't he, at being substituted. Then Mark, throw it over to you for the goal Pender show in the second half, and what did you make of that Leipzig second half particularly? And I mean, did you feel, and this is something I was putting on X, Twitter, and saying that it felt like a statement win and a statement performance by Leipzig, particularly that second half. Obviously, we had a disallowed goal in there as well, which you can maybe kind of lead us on to as well, and thoughts about that. But yeah, excellent performance. And I mean, if any side was going to do it, it kind of felt like it was going to be Leipzig in the end, due to the hate that they receive in Germany. What did you reckon to all of it?
Yeah, I think it was a great game for neutrals, but I actually found it a bit of a weird game in some ways, if I'm being honest, because I felt as though mistakes were rife in this game. They really were. Like the first goal, as you mentioned, it was a great finish from Frimpong, but what was Klosterman doing? Like that was pretty woeful clearance initially, and obviously him replacing Simakon, who left on deadline day to, I think it was Barcelona he went to in the end, wasn't it? But where did he go in the end?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. That's a pity.
Close
Yeah,
enough.
that is a pity. Yeah. But anyway, regardless, they're going to miss him because that was a poor clearance from Klosterman. I think we even mentioned it with Justin as well, that he's going to be a big loss for them because he was really developing into one of the best defenders in the league for me. So it is sad to lose him, especially not to a top 5 European league as well. But what can you do? But yeah, after that, obviously Leverkusen went on to do well. The second goal was a really good goal, and they probably deserved the 2-0 lead at that point. But my issue with Leverkusen is the defense at the minute, and it's very, very uncharacteristic as well. I think I mentioned it last week and even after the Super Cup as well, and I'm a little bit nonplussed to why their defense has gone so bad all of a sudden. Because unlike with Stuttgart, it's not an issue with personnel. It's pretty much a first choice personnel out there. You know, Hincapié, Tapsoba, and Jonathan Tah. But they've just not looked themselves this season. None of them, basically. I feel as though, particularly Tapsoba, I feel as though has been especially poor, really. Obviously, a lot of talk about Jonathan Tah to leave the club, but he did come out and say, didn't he, after the transfer window that had been stressful, you know, he did want the move by the look of it, and I do believe he did want it. But from what I've seen with his interactions with the crowd, he seems relatively happy to be there, but the partnerships aren't working with that back three at the minute at Leverkusen. And another thing we got to mention as well, guys, is obviously that Hadatsky was missing from this game as well. And I felt as though Kovar, I've expressed my doubts about him in the past, and I thought he had a really poor game, to be honest. I felt as though the equaliser from Openda, it wasn't an easy save, but he got a big boot on it, didn't he? He got a massive boot on it. And I always feel as though when they do that, should they be saving it? I didn't feel as though it was the best finish, really, in a situation where he should have scored, really, from there, Openda. But I didn't feel as though it was the cleanest finish. But obviously that just sneaked past the boot of Kovar for the 2-2. And then the winner for me, initially it looks like a great goal, but, you know, it's so near post that, isn't it? Come on, guys. As a top keeper, you've got to be guarding your near post. And the strike wasn't even right into the bottom corner, really. I felt as though it should be saved now. When a top keeper saves that 9 times out of 10 for me. And while respect to Openda, who was brilliant in the game, absolutely brilliant performance from him. And Leipzig showed great character as well, and it is a statement win. There's absolutely no doubt about that. You don't play a team that have gone 35 games domestically, and last season they went, 50 plus? Like, you don't beat a team like that, and it's not a statement win. It really was a statement win, but I feel as though Jabi will be really disappointed. I feel as though his team let this one slip, and I don't think Leipzig really had to hit absolute top gear to win the game in the end for me. That was my takeaway. As I say, there were mistakes in there. Even the Campbell goal. I mean, he's the smallest man on the pitch, Kevin Campbell, and he kind of got through. And I feel as though Leverkusen thought they got through to half-time and that it was 2-0, and that was what did them in the end. I think if they'd have got through at 2-0, it would have been game over. I think they'd have won probably 3-1, 3-2 or something like that. But the goal at the end shook them up, and it's that defence for me. Maybe now the transfer window's over, it's going to be good for Tah and Tapsoba, but at the minute things aren't looking right with them too. And the rest of what Leverkusen are doing is fine. I feel as though the rest is a lot of it's business as usual, really. I feel as though Grimaldo, Frimpong have been brilliant. Terrier even had a good first half as well. I thought his role in the second goal was really good as well. But there's something not quite right with the defence. Peter, do you concur with me, or do you think Leipzig played really, really well to win this game?
No, actually, I think you're absolutely right, and I can tell you what's wrong with the defense, which is, I mean, it's really tactically nerdy stuff because when you think about a back three, you don't often think about positioning. You don't actively think about, is this a back three with the central defender running pivot or an inverted pivot? And very, very important as pertains to Tapsoba. He spent the vast majority of last season as a left slanted center back. And this season, he's on the right, taking the place of Kosunu, who is recently departed. So I think, and this is just one of those things where you have to take the player's muscle memory, you have to take the sort of routes that they run in training, and all of this is all very. This is just stuff that we, many casual football fans, don't simply think about. But on the training pitch, which slant he's running, and whether or not you have a central defender like Tao running a clear pivot or an inverted pivot, these are really very important things. And they look uncoordinated because I guess on the training pitch, Chabi just doesn't have them in set positions, and a lot of that has to do with the transfers. Kosunu, of course, leaving near the deadline. You have Ta, who was, I mean, for the love of God, I obstinately refused. I almost refused on transfer deadline day when Ta's agent made a comment that, you know, Jonah wants to move. My Goalie News colleague Rune hopped into the newsroom and he was like, "You're going to report on this?" And I was almost to the point where I cannot write about this anymore. I don't want to write about Jonathan Tah rumors to Bayern anymore. This was insane. And it came down to the wire, and then Tah had to release a statement to the fans and apologize, and all of this is all a bit of a mess. You bring up the shakiness in the Leipzig defensive core as well. As you correctly pointed out, Mark, this was a match that was full of mistakes. The reason is because both back threes were very, very poor. Simakan's departure, I consider that a very noteworthy news story, in that he was sold to this Al Nassr club where Cristiano Ronaldo plays for, and Sadio Mane, and a couple other ones. Who else we got there? The French guy, the name eludes me at the moment. But typically you sell veterans to that Saudi side. Simakan's only 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is something that you know, you don't see that very often. They did not want to let Simakan go. Simakan didn't even have a release clause in his contract. So this was a case of some Saudi money being thrown at them, and Marco Rosa had to make some last-minute adjustments. Interesting that Justin's not with us today, because I did give his watch along a listen while I was watching part of the game, and he mentioned the fact that the back three, which was surprisingly anchored by Bichiabu, who didn't know whether he was supposed to run pivot or not, made a lot of early mistakes. It improved as the match went on. As a matter of fact, Bichiabu got some standing ovations from the crowd for some strong tackles that he made. But yeah, this match, this Topspiel, a lot of action, plenty of chances. But what we saw in these two opposing 3-4-3s against one another was that the back lines were they were all over the map in both cases. What do we take away from this necessarily? I mean, we obviously have a historic unbeaten run coming to an end from Leverkusen. We mentioned already last week that Leipzig should be considered title contenders in any case. But the main takeaway from this match is that both of these back threes were very bad, and they weren't tactically sorted at all. So that's basically what my big takeaway from it is.
Well, it made for a good game, so there we go. That's fine with us, and that's what proves to be sometimes the drawer of the Bundesliga is the optional defense that we often see. But yeah, completely agree. Some good points made there. Leipzig, like you said, Peter, they had to react very quickly to the Simakan news. They have brought in obviously a very interesting player in Gerd Trauder from Feyenoord, who I know. The only reason why I know how to pronounce his name because I actually had a FIFA career mode with Feyenoord, so up the lads. I molded him into my captain and centre half. So yeah, I'm strongly a believer in his abilities. whether FIFA logic comes to pass or not, we'll have to see. But yeah, he was the chosen man to come in to replace Simicon. So we'll have to see how quickly Marco Rose is able to embed him into the Leipzig defence and maybe help to shore things up a little bit. Right then, we shall move on. So just kind of from a timing-wise point of view, and our last of our 4 featured games is gonna cover the Sunday afternoon stroll in the end for Heidenheim as they blitzed 4 past FC Augsburg in another fantastic performance by Frank Schmidt's side. That from early on, getting a penalty, Vanner again getting the goal very coolly from the spot, gave Heidenheim an early cushion after they had a bit of a warning shot, as I think it was Meyer who hit the bar for Augsburg from a free kick miles out. Vanner was given the honours of taking the penalty. And first over to you, Mark. First kind of again visitation to the VAR tunnel or TV screen that we had was this one was the handball, I think it was, that was given after checks by the referee. What are we thinking to this one? This one looked peculiar to me. What do you reckon, Mark?
It's just Augsburg versus VAR, isn't it? I mean, the fact that, let's be honest, the fact that this one was given, but the one last week against Werder Bremen wasn't given. I mean, I kind of feel sorry for Augsburg at times because really they do get the rough luck with decisions. And I felt as though this was a joke of a decision, to be honest with you. Probably 1 or 2 of the weekend I thought were really poor. One of them being, as you mentioned, Rory, your boy, Stuttgart. I didn't feel as though that was a penalty. And for me, this also wasn't a penalty. I mean, first of all, I didn't even really see a proper handball. And also it looks as though like both players were like in there and stuff. Yeah. So it just looked very, very peculiar, really. And, I think it's unfortunate for Augsburg because obviously they'd started the game well too. And I do feel as though Augsburg have a bit of a chip on the shoulder at times about VAR and referees and stuff. And you could tell this went to the head because after the penalty, they just didn't play well at all, really, let's be honest. And Heidenheim were far better in my eyes. But again, respect. Heidenheim deserve unlimited amounts of respect, really, because I just feel as though I had them down as 17th place, I'll be honest. And I thought the signs didn't really inspire me. I think the players they'd lost, and I thought they've got Europa Conference League as well as the league, and I just thought that they can't do it. They've not got the squad depth for rotation. Schmidt is inexperienced with rotation to this level, but so far it's just been a fairy tale, basically. It really has. I mean, it's to win this game 4-0 on the back of that roller coaster game against Hecken in midweek as well was just superb. Paul Vanner is going to be a superstar, I think, really. I think he looks like a really, really good player. I'll be honest, I'd heard some good reviews from him from his time at Elversberg last year, but I wasn't really convinced that he's ready to be a Bundesliga player yet. But from what I've seen so far in the first 2 games, he is definitely ready. And then our boy, Peter, Leo Cienza, we saw him in his moments of glory with that Messi-style assist against Jan Regensburg last season. And, he's been brilliant so far. He really has. And they look like they've got real quality. Like even, the other issue is some people would say they've not really got a striker. But, I mean, Pieringer has done well as a number 9 in this game. He played really, really well. And even Bräunig as well, who I would imagine is going to be a starting striker by the time, in 5 to 10 games. I would imagine he is the plan to get him as a starting striker. But it's just been a fairy tale. It really has. I mean, there's just been so many good performances. Beck was excellent as well. Fehrenbach has had an absolutely brilliant start to the season to the left back. Meinke, is as strong as ever. Muller in net. It's just been brilliant. And our boy Sir Lord Conte as well. Yeah, he's going to be the Sir Lord of Heidenheim if he carries on going like this, because he looks like a great player. And respect to Schmidt and his team. I mean, they plucked these players out of nowhere in many ways, and they look like a good team. And I'm already thinking about retracting my statement about them struggling this season, but I'm going to give it a few more weeks yet. But what about you, Peter? Are you just as impressed with the boys as I am?
Well, you can't argue with the results. I mean, they've won 5 competitive fixtures now, and Schmidt's rotations have been spot on. He's rotated heavily in the Conference League playoffs, the Pokal and everything. I mean, Wanner has now scored in all 4 of his appearances. I mean, he's the talk of the Bundesrepublik right now, Paul Wanner, who is also of Austrian heritage. He could represent Austria. And it was huge news today when he declined a Germany U21 call-up. But it's really been incredible. I think that, Leonard Maloney, the young American, they call him Radio Maloney now as a homage to Radio Müller. The way that he directs that midfield on sort of a sweeper, split stagger with Schöpfner most of the time is incredible. One of the most underrated players of last season, I thought, was Omar Hakhtar Traore, the right back. He's been incredible. And Sir Lord, can I say, I want to say that, with like with a faux British accent, like I have a plum in my mouth or something. Sir Lord Conte. He's the under sheriff of Shropshire Manor or something. I don't but his pace, he actually broke a freaking
he's record breaker.
Yeah, on that assist. Good Lord. I mean, is this sustainable? Somehow, I doubt it. I mean, they can't sustain this over the course of the entire season. You got plenty of players who are playing above their level, but you never know with Pavana. You really never know what he has in store for us. I mean, and he needs to be recruited into the Germany fold sooner rather than later, before Rosberg steals him for Austria. With regard to Augsburg, I will talk a little bit about them because they are Mark's Bavarian Swabians and a club that we very much enjoyed visiting. So many losses this offseason. Demirovic to Rory's Stuttgart, Arnie Engels departing on deadline day to Celtic on a huge deal. And of course, Nicholas Dorsch going back to Heidenheim. He was not quite ready for the lineup this time around. It was it Meyer who hit the post early? Then there was that horrible penalty call. And Schlotterbeck tried to redeem himself, but he himself hit the post with a header a little bit later. So you have some bad luck there. But obviously, the midfield diamond wasn't going to work all that well with Frederick Jensen taking Arne Meyer's place on short notice. And Tim Breithaupt, talk about a player who was playing a little bit above his level late last season, has come back down to earth. And there was, I mean, I don't know if technically that could have been considered a foul on Vana on that goal that he assisted. I mean, who did he knock over? Was it Rex Bahai or
maybe Jakic? Was it?
Was Jakic on the pitch at that time?
No, maybe not.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, he kind of big bad German Austrian bruiser. He might have gotten away with one there as well. So. Yeah, I don't think it's sustainable, but it's still a sensational story. Heidenheim have only had one coach since they consolidated their club in Frank Schmidt. This is a tiny town of 50,000 people that was their first Bundesliga season last year, and they are in Europe this year and preparing to welcome Chelsea to the Voith Arena on November 28th in the Conference League. So. Yeah, I mean, this is a story that we might as well talk about it now because come on, don't be ridiculous. They're not a top 4 side. It's not happening.
No, it's not. If they can, any of the Heidenheim boys want to earn favour with me, if they want to chop Jadon Sancho whilst Chelsea are over there, that's more than fine with me. The little blighter. Less said about that, the better. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. What a run Heidenheim are having, and I think we just sit back and enjoy it. And I think I think, Peter, you said this maybe the other week, like, we don't enjoy being wrong in a sense in terms of people's predictions and what we're saying. We don't want Heidenheim to do badly, but when we're doing predictions, someone has to be placed 18th, someone has to be placed 17th or whatever. Based on what we'd seen in the summer market and the players that we didn't know as much about, how could we not think that Heidenheim were going to struggle? And like you say, Peter, they will struggle at some point. I am sure of that. If they keep going, then happy days. Then what a story we've got on our hands. But if the inevitable does happen, then the start that they're enjoying could be crucial come the end of the season. Whatever they do in Europe is fine. It's a party for 6 games, isn't it, in the Conference League rather than the 8 that they play in Europa and Champs. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Mark, are we in danger 2 games in of gaslighting a little bit much in terms of Augsburg's struggles? Peter's already listed off the players that they lost. I'm a little bit concerned about that from a player perspective and the flirtation that they always do with 16th place and their inevitability of being able to get above that. Are those skills going to be tested even more this season, or are we looking too much in advance? Obviously, just being 2 games in.
Yeah, I think they must have had a record for one of the worst ever transfer windows that I can remember in Bundesliga history, to be honest. I think, what were they doing? When you lose Engels, okay, you've got to accept that. At 13 million euros for a player they brought in for basically nothing. Yeah, I understand that they've got to accept that, but why sell Dorsch as well? Do you know what I mean? What were they thinking there? Dorsch had just said he was happy to stay a couple of weeks before that. So that just seems bizarre. And if you look at the team they had out there, that starting lineup, that was a weak lineup for me, really. I've got to be honest with you. I think, as Peter said, Breithaupt he had a good season last year, but he's not the answer at defensive mid. I know that Jakic is probably going to be the starting there in the future. Jensen is another one that's just not good enough as far as I'm concerned, really. And Meyer is another one that wasn't getting in the team last year. Then Pedersen as well coming back in. So it's not looking good. A lot of these guys couldn't get a game last season, and now they're starting, basically. So I think, where's Ruben Vargas, for example? Where's Marius Wolf, who looks is a good player? He should be starting. For me, Vargas, who had a really good Euros as well. Where's he? He's been on the bench the first 2 games, and there are worries there at the minute for them. I still think they'll be okay. I think they'll grow into the season. I do like, yes, Torup, but I feel a bit sorry for him because he's going to have to basically find a new starting 11 this year, as far as I'm concerned. It's a completely different team, and also the keeper too, Labrovic, doesn't look good at all from what I've seen so far. So yeah, they do have a few problems there, but touch wood and everything will be fine as usual there.
I know we're short on time, but they did have a pretty good transfer deadline day. They signed 3 players, none of which were ready for the 11 on Sunday, including this guy from Brentford that you may know a little bit more about, Onyeka, the Nigerian international. So they brought in some guys on a decent budget. Alexis Claude Maurice came in on a free, and they got this defender, Matsima, on loan. So we'll see how he pieces it together. Definitely that 4-4-2 diamond got to go. Gotta go.
Absolutely. So yeah, great stuff. Work to do for Augsburg, and the Heidenheim run goes marching on, which is fantastic. Quickly over to the best of the rest then. So what I'll do is I'll just summarize each game very quickly, and I'll hand over each turn, Mark, Peter, Mark, and I'll challenge you just to summarize the game in 2 sentences, as we're a little bit pressed for time tonight. So first game, I'll give this one to you, Mark. This might be the easiest out of all of them. 0-0 draw between Bremen and Dortmund. That was the first time in 56 meetings in Bremen that the game had ended goalless. So yeah, ensuing with it a Nico Schlotterbeck disaster class and a red card there. Very quickly, any kind of summary analysis of that one?
Yeah, basically no attack for Dortmund. It's as simple as that. Yeah, and it is already worrying, I would say, by this point. Sahin needs to find a system, and fast.
Very well done. Like the conciseness there, Mark. It's a good start. We'll go over to you, Peter, for Gladbach notching up a really good win against Bochum. 2-0 win, attacking quality shown on display there. And I'm sure a couple of Gladbach's attackers will get a mention in your summary just now, Peter.
Absolutely. Kevin Stöger coming back to destroy his old club. And apologies for me for tapping Bochum. They need to score a goal. They have not scored one yet.
Absolutely. Even better summed up there, Peter. That was the mark there. Fantastic. Goals to Kleindienst and Honorat. Really neat play from them both. Back over to you, Mark, to summarise Union's narrow 1-0 win to kickstart match week 2 on Friday night against St. Pauli, who are slightly struggling early doors.
Two relatively blunt sides, if I'm being honest, but I think experience and that man, he's got his holler back, Benedict, once again with the kind of niche Bundesliga player of the year last year, wants to do it again this year.
Holler back, absolutely good stuff there. Good win for Union. Over to you, Peter, for a summary of Kiel. Being empty-handed on their first ever Bundesliga home game against Wolfsburg, who did enough to get the 3 points.
Very, very close call between Union Berlin, St. Pauli, and this one is the worst match of the weekend. This was a horrible match. Maximilian Arnold, you thought he came up with a set piece masterstroke, but when you watch it actually took a huge deflection. Bad game, no highlights, horrible.
Absolutely, good stuff. This is fantastic stuff, chaps. I'll be kind and give you both a chance to summarise this last one to make it 3 for 3 on summaries. Summing up the victory for Bayern as they got past resolute Freiburg side on Sunday afternoon, and some more records for the amazing Muller. I'll go to you, Mark, first for your initial summary.
You don't realise how much this is killing me and Peter, Rory, to do it in such
I know it is.
but easy win, routine win, pretty good performance from Bayern. I felt record breaker Muller. Nothing spectacular yet from Die Bayern, but it's all going okay. Freiburg disappointed me a little bit. I just didn't think they had the quality in midfield. I thought they'd do more, but it wasn't to be for them. Yeah.
Peter, with Freiburg a little bit blunt.
I promised everybody on X that there would not be a Vincent Kompany tactical rant. Good thing, too, because I had no idea what he was doing. I couldn't figure it out. Nobody in Germany could figure it out. That I'm going to have to come around to Mark's feelings, perhaps yours as well, about Vincent Kompany. We may be in big trouble now, Bayern, because there was nothing resembling a system from the record champions at all. But of course, Serge Gnabry worked his socks off, and he was the player of the match for me, besides Müller, who is a German footballing legend, and I hope he never retires from club football, ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well summarised there, chaps. A lovely goal from Thomas Müller at the end there. Sorry, Peter, do you want to quickly finish off on saying that?
Well, I mean, just pointing out that, Company really had no plan, and the Bundesrepublik, Germans are, you think I'm a tactical nerd, you should listen to some of the German podcasts out there. Some of them have 5 hours of tactics every week, and everybody's head exploded yesterday in German footballing circles, because Company, you don't put a German football team on the pitch without a system. You just don't do that.
Well, yeah, that may be the case in Germany, but you should try watching Man United from time to time. Then you'll understand about teams without systems. Again, I digress. But excellent stuff there, chaps. I know I put you on the spot, and I know how much you would have hated that. But very well summarised. The best of the rest games there from match week 2. So that brings us to a close for match week 2. And regrettably, we're already at the international break. How darn annoying. But we will be back soon enough. But yeah, thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight. Thank you for your comments, everyone. It's been fantastic to go through it all. I'll hand over to your fine self, Mark, to close up the show.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed what you saw tonight, then don't forget our Twitter feed at Over the Bar, being at Village Footy 20. Also, don't forget we're in the 21st century now, finally, and we're on Instagram. So join us on at Over the Bar FB. We're building quite a nice community on there. You can see what me and Rory are up to football-wise as well, and some future shows on there. Also don't forget that there will be a bit of a break, unfortunately, as well. It is sad, but it's already the international break, and we've got a kind of earlier than expected break, haven't we, lads? But we will be back in September with more and more live vlogs, potentially watch-alongs, and tons more pods as well for you guys. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can get as much of us as possible. So thank you very much, guys, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks for the predictions for Matchday 3. So have a good break and see you then. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers all.